For a long time I was working in the gallery scene, the traditional world of Western artists. Artists primarily work in environments where they are isolated. They work in a studio space and then they present their work to the world on white walls in often very elite spaces. My work is about connecting people, it's about engaging people, and through the process of making art, actually achieving outcomes that are far greater than the work itself. So, having said that, I still, as an artist, have a great desire to achieve and make very beautiful things that are profoundly moving. So there's two very powerful agendas there. All artists have dreams, but the sort of dreams that I have are dreams that can't be realised without a big team of people, that cannot happen without an incredibly beautiful place to site them, and that cannot happen without some kind of strong meaning and collective consciousness behind the work. Having lived in East Gippsland all my life, I'm just absolutely inspired and passionate about the variety and power of the land that we live in here. And from the mountains to the sea was the concept that came to me right from the beginning. I felt that to do something that actually embraced that extraordinary diversity of land, and something that also connected very deeply to this sense of place where we all live, and also a piece that could engage the traditional owners of the land.
Well, in this type of working with the community, artists, I think it's more playing a role as a media, I think, and art sort of become like a platform that make the people possible to work together, to meet together, and it's the most important thing is how to make people enjoy working together, because this opportunity, I think, is very important. This art piece will disappear in a few days, I think, but the relationship which happened during the whole process of the whole things will remain until much, much longer, I think.
I try not to have any preconceptions when approaching a site-specific work such as Common Ground, so that I might be open to the place itself suggesting ideas to me. In the case of Common Ground, it was amazing because Lakes Entrance actually possesses a gamelan, which is a set of Indonesian percussion instruments, and it's not every regional town that has a gamelan. Even more amazing was the fact that this particular gamelan comes from Central Java, which is the area where Eko Purwodo, our artist-in-resident, comes from. So there was an amazing musical possibility to explore with that. However, Lakes Entrance doesn't have a gamelan ensemble currently, that is, people to actually play the instruments. So I got around this by sampling all of the instruments, that is, to digitally record them and then recreate them within a software realm so that I could incorporate those sounds into the Common Ground music.
At Lakes Entrance, there was that incredible richness of a coastal ecosystem with beautiful lakes, and then the ocean just over the sand dunes, and all of the intricacies that that kind of landscape presents. But as well as that, it had this opportunity to work on an incredibly iconic piece of architecture, being the footbridge. The world of Lakes Entrance today is very, very different to the early days, of course, and there are many issues in that town now. There are major issues of racial tension. There's a lot of disrespect for different racial groups in the community. There's a lot of issues between youth and young people. There's a transient population. There's economic depression. The list goes on and on. So the other agenda I had for this project was really to try and address some of those issues through arts practice, through celebration and ritual and ceremony, to engage people more deeply with each other and ultimately bring them together at the table to have a conversation on level ground, on common ground, on the ground that we all share as a community.
We're about to have the Welcome to Country, and it's a very proud moment for everybody. I think this is just the most magic moment in the whole thing, because we've actually brought all the families from across this area together, the families of the original Gunnaikurnai Nation, and Elaine can probably talk a bit more about that, who's here.
We've probably just about covered all the families, not all, but we've got a good mix here. Quite proud. I feel like crying. That's me.
Thank each and every one of you people, black and white, to join us here in celebrating what we do. And this is the first time in my life that I have ever come across anything like this. And I thank the organisers very, very deeply from the bottom of my heart. I've never had an opportunity to speak like this before and thank people, especially the white people, who have done so much here in the last 10 days.
Putting together a vision of this nature is like a jigsaw puzzle with a million pieces, and you never know where the pieces are going to go. When the jigsaw all comes together at the end and the vision is realised, it is just the most extraordinary feeling. And that night when Auntie Edie spoke, it was just a feeling that is something I can't even explain myself, but so incredibly powerful. And to see men cry is also an extraordinary thing. And after that speech, Lenny Hayes was, our Koori liaison person, was just crying his eyes out. The doctor, who's the husband of the mayor who spoke, was crying publicly in the surf club. I didn't stop crying for, I think, at least half an hour. People were hugging, people from all backgrounds. Elders were hugging, children were hugging elders. There was this incredible sense of healing, and the Koori community said to me, this has been a healing like no other healing has ever been in this town. It's healing on a really deep level. And when we went through the whole process of making the canoe was such an extraordinary process even in itself, because it needs to all work with nature, and in this situation it just didn't work. The sap didn't run in the tree, the boat wouldn't be made, and we were just going against the grain. And yet the process of making the boat actually brought everyone together.
This project is really good. It's actually the second time I've been involved in the making of a canoe. Went out last year with Uncle Albert. And I think it's really good for the department to be involved, as well as it is just happening so that the knowledge does get passed on.
What was your gut feeling when you was told that this was going ahead? Was you excited?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah?
I wanted to come.
This rope we're going to tie around the end. So you want to feel that like that. You want it moisture like that. And it makes it easier, more pliable, flexible.
That's it. Not too much. Great.
Well, then ultimately we didn't even use that boat. We ended up finding another boat, another canoe that was made 35 years ago. Well, when we brought that canoe back and had that there on the night, and had all the families that had been involved in that come together again, they hadn't spoken for 15 years. They had not sat round a table together. And there I was at the surf club after the speeches, looking at these people from the Italian community, from the Aboriginal community, from the surf club, from the Shire, and everyone was sitting around tables together talking to each other and just feeling this absolutely extraordinary sense of community spirit. And I think that was just, to me, the ultimate dream come true.
It's a multicultural sort of a thing, you know, everybody mixed and everybody talked and gathered, and it was deadly. I've never seen anything like it, you know. I reckon it was better than New Year's. Just the way the crowd, and they just come around and sat down and yarn, and you know. The reason why it was so important to me, it brought family back together. Because over the years we've been feuding for so long, and people don't know how I feel about today. It was fantastic, and family are back together. It really, you know, brought emotional, spiritual, and power back into our community, especially with our elders and our kids.
Language is integral to culture, and in the case of the Gunnaikurnai language, which is the traditional Aboriginal language of the Lakes Entrance area, it's not often spoken these days, so we thought it could be very valuable to incorporate spoken Gunnaikurnai into the Common Ground music. The way I did this was to record Corey reciting the traditional Gunnaikurnai story of Borong the pelican, and that became like a spoken word track around which I built music, which became a section of the overall Common Ground soundtrack.
Not many have heard Aboriginal stories and stuff, and yeah, I reckon it's alright, because they get to hear it as well as what we do as well. We're not the only ones that learn it. There's not just the canoe on the water, there's also the story to go with it as well. This is the story of the Gunnaikurnai man. He comes down from up in the mountains and he's on a journey going to the inlets where the water's deep so he can put his canoe in. And when he gets there, he finds that there's a duck, a musk duck in it, and they fall in love, and that's how the first man was created.
It was very emotional too. When I went over, one little lad said to me, he said, if Poppy was over here, he said, he'd be in the crowd. I said, no, Poppy's watching you now, you know. And the other grandson said Poppy was over there watching him, and he was very proud and was very emotional over there too. It was just for them two little lads, you know, just being with them. It really touched my heart over there.
Of course, the work was always at the forefront of all of that, and when the piece unfurled on Friday night, that was the final icing on the cake. That's like all the candles going off, all, you know, the sparklers, the whole bit, you know, literally. The magic night, the comet flying in the sky, you know, it was just like something out of a fairy tale. And 3,000 people on that shore, you could feel their sense of wonderment and their, you know, final realisation that this is a reality. It is something that has existed for a very long time, and it is something that we should all treasure and really pay respect to. So it was great. I just think I was absolutely so lucky to have such perfect weather and to have everything come together as well as it did.
Nara Jinjin, Kuti Gunnaikurnai Won, Jinjin Pelican Back Nainga, Manga Kawa, Il Back Nainga, Walk Walk, Chili Plappa, Pulu Third Jinjin, Third Yawan, Janana Way Put, Il Plappa, Tarawako, Chili Nuka, Katban, Green, Nangle Rock. Chili Wanik Iwarga, Chili Takan, Nauka Takan, Tang Chili Bakna, Inga Gilwood Katang, Chili Kinoa, Green Mola Kang, Chili Takan Wilcock, Kopak Manana, Nung Tak Jinjin, Mustard, Chili Gran Abankit, Takan, Nung, Chili Mayan. Yo Jinjin, Yakin, Gut Gang, Gunner. Nara Jinjin, Kuti Gunnaikurnai Wonwan, Jinjin Pelican Back Nainga, Mangwa Kawa, Il Back Nainga, Walk Walk, Walk Walk, Walk Walk, Chili Flapper, Pulu for Jinjin, Dirt Yawan, Janana Way Put, Il Papa, Tarawako, Chili Nuka, Cutbun, Green, Nangle Rock, Nangle Rock. Chili Wanik Iwarga, Chili Tuckin, Nauka Tuckin, Tang Chili Back Na, Inga Gilwood Katang, Chili Kinoa, Green Mola Kang, Chili Tuckin, Wilcock, Go Back Manana, Nung Tuck, Jinjin, Mustard, 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 Chili Gran, Abankit, Tuckin, Nung Nung, Chili Man. Yo Jinjin, Yakin, Gut Gang, Gunner, 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 Gunner.